What if the reason Kim Kardashian holds so much influence isn't because people admire her, copy her, or even like her, but because she understands how human psychology actually works in the age of attention? What if her power doesn't come from persuasion, but from alignment with how people think, feel, and attach? When you stop viewing her influence as cultural noise and start viewing it as psychological design, everything becomes clearer. At the core of Kim Kardashian's influence is emotional neutrality. This may sound counterintuitive in a world that rewards extremes, but neutrality is disarming. Kim rarely presents herself as emotionally volatile in public. She doesn't rage, overshare inner chaos, or perform emotional authenticity the way many public figures do. This creates a psychological vacuum, and humans instinctively fill vacuums with projection. When someone doesn't tell you exactly who they are emotionally, your mind starts assigning meaning for them. That projection is the first hook of influence. People don't connect to Kim because she tells them how to feel. They connect because she lets them decide what she represents. To some, she's ambition. To others, excess. To others, resilience. To others, privilege. And to many, transformation. She doesn't correct these interpretations because correction would collapse the projection. Influence grows when many people can see different things in the same figure without being contradicted. Another psychological lever she uses masterfully is familiarity without intimacy. Humans are wired to trust what feels familiar. Repetition builds comfort. Kim has been present for so long, across so many life stages, that she feels psychologically close to millions of people who have never met her. But here's the key difference: she never fully crosses into emotional intimacy. You see routines, visuals, environments, but not vulnerability in the traditional sense. This keeps the parasocial relationship stable instead of volatile. People feel connected without feeling entitled to her inner world. This balance protects her. When public figures overshare emotionally, audiences feel ownership. Ownership turns into judgment. Kim avoids that trap by offering access without surrender. Have you noticed how people talk about her life endlessly, yet rarely claim they know her the way they claim to know other celebrities? Her influence is also rooted in normalization. Kim doesn't introduce ideas as radical challenges. She introduces them as already happening. Whether it's beauty standards, lifestyle choices, business moves, or personal reinvention, she rarely frames anything as rebellion. She frames it as reality. Psychologically, this lowers resistance. Humans resist being told to change, but they adapt quickly to what feels inevitable. Kim positions herself as a reflection of where culture is going, not as someone pushing it there. There's also a strong identity psychology at play. Kim's brands and public image are not sold as products or achievements. They are sold as identity extensions. Confidence, control, transformation, success without apology. When people buy into her world, they're not just consuming an object. They're reinforcing a version of themselves they want to inhabit. Identity-based influence is far stronger than preference-based influence because it operates below conscious decision-making. Another subtle but powerful psychological mechanism is her relationship with criticism. Kim does not emotionally battle her critics. She allows criticism to exist without granting it narrative control. This signals emotional immunity, and emotional immunity is magnetic. People subconsciously respect individuals who are not governed by external approval. Even critics remain engaged because they're reacting to something that doesn't react back. That asymmetry keeps attention flowing in one direction. Timing is another psychological weapon. Kim rarely responds immediately to controversy or shifts. She lets emotional spikes cool before she speaks, if she speaks at all. This positions her as stable while the environment around her feels chaotic. Humans are drawn to perceived stability, especially during cultural overload. Silence, in her case, is not absence, it's authority. Her visual consistency also plays a psychological role. Consistency reduces cognitive load. When the brain doesn't have to constantly reprocess who someone is, it relaxes. Kim's image evolves, but it does so within recognizable boundaries. This creates a sense of continuity that feels safe. In uncertain times, people gravitate toward what feels anchored, even if it's aspirational. Midway through this breakdown, pause and ask yourself something honestly. Who are the people that hold your attention the longest? Are they the loudest or the most emotionally controlled? If these insights about influence and psychology resonate with you, subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might reveal something others haven't noticed yet. Another crucial psychological dimension of Kim's influence is endurance. The human brain equates longevity with legitimacy. Someone who survives repeated cycles of attention, backlash, change, and reinvention begins to feel structurally important, even to those who claim not to care. Kim's continued presence signals that she belongs in the cultural landscape, and belonging is a powerful psychological anchor. She also understands the psychology of aspiration without distance. Kim is aspirational, but not unreachable. Her world looks elevated, yet still framed as accessible with the right choices, products, or mindset. This creates motivation instead of alienation. People don't feel excluded by her success. They feel invited to imagine proximity to it. There's also a quiet mastery of emotional pacing. Kim doesn't flood the public with constant highs and lows. Her emotional tone remains relatively flat. This steadiness creates contrast when something significant does happen. When she speaks seriously or makes a major move, it stands out. Scarcity amplifies impact. Constant intensity dulls it. At a deeper level, her influence is built on control of narrative exposure rather than narrative content. She doesn't need to convince people she's powerful. She simply operates as if she is, consistently and without explanation. Humans tend to accept repeated behavior as truth over time. Authority doesn't need to be announced when it's structurally reinforced. Perhaps the most underestimated psychological factor is that Kim never positions herself as a moral guide. She doesn't ask to be admired for her values. She presents herself as a participant in modern life, not a judge of it. This removes moral resistance. People don't feel preached to. They feel observed. And observation is less threatening than instruction. So when people ask why Kim Kardashian has so much influence, the answer isn't beauty, controversy, or marketing alone. It's psychological fluency. She understands projection, familiarity, identity, neutrality, timing, and emotional control. She doesn't fight human behavior. She aligns with it. Before you move on, ask yourself one final question. How much of influence is about what you say, and how much is about what you allow others to believe? And how might your own presence change if you stopped over-explaining and started structuring perception instead? If this analysis reshaped how you see influence, attention, or power in the modern world, leave a comment with your thoughts and subscribe for more deep dives like this. The psychology beneath culture is always deeper than it looks, and we are just getting started.